Hey everybody, Ian Preston here. Sorry I wasn't able to do a review on this early, but I just had a lot of stuff going on, so yeah, bear with me, I just don't want to say on camera, but yeah, um, I just wanted to say I am reviewing Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, um, and came out like 3 weeks ago, and um, I think, in my opinion, I know a lot of Star Wars fans got angry at this, but my opinion, I really liked this one. This one made me, got me all excited when I saw the movie, and I highly recommend it to any Star Wars fans who haven't seen it yet, but came out this Friday, December 20th, 2019, rated PG-13, director J.J. Abrams, he returned for it, and, it's 2 hours and 22 minutes, starring, I think it's like an action or adventure, sci-fi, or science fiction and all that. Starring Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Domhnall Gleeson, Adam Driver, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Jonas Sotua, whatever his last name was, that does Chewbacca, Anthony Daniels, Billy D. Williams, and Ian McDiarmid, and yep. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and. By the way, this contains spoilers. This video does contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, stop watching this video immediately, and I will put this in the title, spoiler warning. So anyway, I don't think it'll affect me with the COPPA and all, it's just a review on the movie, but it all starts out with TIE fighters flying in the air, and then Kylo is on a planet, killing innocent people, and then he goes to see the Emperor, and I can't remember what the place was called, and the Emperor looked ugly and all scary and all, and then all of a sudden he heard two voices change, like Darth Maul's voice, I think it was, and then Darth Vader's voice, and the Emperor's eyes look like this. Sorry if I did that wrong. Yeah, I'm not good at that, but he ordered him to bring he ordered to bring Rey and Gil to he ordered to bring Rey to him, and he said he created Snoke apparently, and then Rey was currently on some jungle planet training. Then all of a sudden, her and Kylo meet in like this force thingy or something, just like they did in The Last Jedi, and she causes a tree to fall on BB-8 on accident, and what else? Eventually, Finn and Poe and Chewbacca and some big alien thingy are in this Millennium Falcon, and it's kind of funny how Poe and Finn and Chewbacca are playing this game in the Millennium Falcon, and then all of a sudden, um, Poe's like, he's just cheating, and then they're just upsetting him, like, he's cheating, I know he is. And then they, like, go to this planet, and this alien gives them something, and then he asks them, how do we, I mean, it wasn't a planet, it was just a little, I can't remember what it was, some kind of hangar or something, and he goes, how do we thank you? And he goes, win the war, and then TIE fighters chase them through the area, and then they start jump speed skipping, or light speed skipping, or something like that. I never knew they could do that on the Millennium Falcon. And Finn loads this thingy in R2-D2, and then they start going into random places, a spiky area, a big metal pole thingy area, and they almost get eaten by a huge space monster in this green, foggy area, and TIE fighters get demolished while they go through there and all. And then eventually they go back to base where the Resistance, I guess it's the new hiding for the Resistance, and apparently Rey knew where she had to go, and they went to this, she wanted to go alone, but then Finn, Poe, and Chewbacca, and C-3PO and BB-8 go with her, and then she hugs Leia, and then tears come down her face, and Leia tells her not to worry, because the Force is always with her, and Rose Tico is in this movie. It's just she's not as stupid as she was in The Last Jedi, but she's known as the new Jar Jar Binks. And Maz Kanata's in this movie too, and she never explains where she got the Skywalker's lightsaber. But anyway, they go to this deserty area, or huge, it's almost like Tatooine, and then these weird-looking alien thingies, and one of them gives Rey a necklace, and then they find a stormtrooper, and one of them, somebody shoots it with an arrow, and then apparently eventually they see these little baby aliens and little alien kids getting taught by their teacher, and then it looks like there's a little puppet play going on for them, which is cute. And then this person in this robot mask takes them into this secret room, and then he reveals that it's he takes off the mask and it's Lando Calrissian. And anyway, they take some speeders, and then they get chased by some stormtroopers, and they manage to escape stormtroopers, and then that causes them to crash into canyons and all, and then they sink into this sand-like, sorry, I need to get up a little bit. They sink into this quicksand-like thingy, and then Finn wanted to tell Rey something, and then they end up in this cavern, but meanwhile Kylo Ren makes a new mask, and then he brings the Knights of Ren with him to this huge Star Destroyer. Excuse me. And then they have a meeting with Hux and some people, and then eventually Kylo ends up force choking someone and causing him to hit the ceiling. And then Finn, Rey, and meanwhile they're exploring the cave, and then looking for this huge dagger, this old dagger. It's like a knife thingy with Empire language on it. And then they run to this scary-looking huge snake, and then Rey apparently notices that its tail has been wounded, and then she heals it with force power, and then the snake goes back into its hole. And then they take the ship. Then all of a sudden, Rey's like walking up in the middle of the desert, and then Chewie comes out, and then the Knights of Ren spot Chewie, and then Chewie gets caught. Finn sees this, and then Rey sees that Kylo's coming down on his TIE fighter. Rey jumps and then uses her lightsaber to like slice open off the wing, and then Ren crashes but survives somehow, and then the ship was about to take Chewie, and then she uses the Force to stop the ship, but then Ren tries using it too, and then to keep it going, but then Rey keeps doing it again, and then for some reason these Sith lightning comes out of her hands and then causes the ship to explode and crash, and then she thinks Chewie died in the process, and then Rey and Finn and Poe yells to Finn and Rey, yelling they gotta go because TIE fighters are coming, and then they take off, and then they make a deal to like go to this place to like cause C-3PO to like translate Empire language, and then they say for Chewie, but apparently Chewie's been held captive on the ship of the Star Destroyer, and then Hux, and then Chewie roars at Hux, and then Hux says, well, he used to fly with Han Solo, and then they take Chewie to like some prison, and then they go to this snowy place, Finn, Rey, Poe, and C-3PO, and BB-8, and BB-8 meets this little cone-headed droid named Dio, I think his name is, and he goes, no thank you, hello, nice to meet you, and then they, apparently, Poe runs into this old person he knew, and her name was Zori. Apparently she wasn't happy with him, and then she said, you think you were stupid enough to come back here? And then Rey eventually convinces her to help them, and then they meet this little dude, which is funny. His name is something Barbara Frick or something, and then he does a little something in C-3PO's head and then causes him to translate. And I remember earlier when they left, he said, if I don't make it back, R2-D2, I will please remember me, like, you were always my best friend. And, sorry, wearing my Chiefs shirt. Anyway, he was... And then he translated whatever that marking stuff was on that dagger from Empire language to English. And earlier they learned that Palpatine has has returned and all, and starting this thing called the Final Order. Sorry, my story's a little out of order. And then C-3PO goes back into his normal self, and now he doesn't remember anybody, and he goes, "Hello, I am C-3PO, a human-cyborg relations." And then they realize that the First Order is coming back, or the Final Order has arrived, and then they had to escape. They had to escape, and oh yeah, and that necklace that Rey got, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, somehow Kylo Ren destroyed it by using the Force, and then Finn, Rey, and Poe, and C-3PO, and Zori, they run. Zori explains what has been happening ever since Poe abandoned her to join the Resistance. And then Rey realizes that Chewie's on the Star Destroyer, and Zori's like, "Your friend is on that ship, on that sky trash?" And then they get on the ship, they sneak on the ship, and then take out some troopers, and then Rey went up and then realizes she finds the burnt head of Darth Vader, and then Ren and Rey start talking to each other, and then they destroy the thingy that's holding Vader's helmet, and then they have a little lightsaber battle, and then Finn and Poe free Chewie, and then they eventually get captured, and then what was his name? Hux kills the troopers, and then he tells them that he is the spy that they were looking for, and then eventually Finn shoots him in the leg and asks, "Why are you helping us?" And he said, "Because he wants Kylo to lose." And then eventually they escape on the ship, and then Rey and Ren are like facing each other, and then Ren explains this to him that talks about, it shows what Rey's parents look like, and how they leave her on Jakku with Uncle Palet, and apparently they came to face the Emperor, and then they were killed by the Emperor, and then Ren explains that Rey is the granddaughter of Palpatine, so she is a Palpatine, and Ren also explains that that his father Han Solo was the son of Palpatine, apparently, and then Rey ends up. Hang on a sec. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. Rey gets on the Millennium Falcon and decides to run from the dark side, and then even though Kylo's trying to get her to surrender to it, and then Rey says, "You don't know me, Finn. Nobody probably knows me." And she thought to herself that, Ren told her that Leia knew that this was true, and then Rey was wondering, why didn't she tell me this and all? But anyway, sorry, as they were traveling, they were gonna, I can't remember where else they were gonna go, but they were going into the Endor system. That's where they were going, because that's where C-3PO said when he translated. And then they run into these people, and then they decide to help out, because they crashed the ship, and the lady that led them, she said her name was Jenna, and they said they were stormtroopers too, and they refused to kill also, on that village in The Force Awakens. And then Rey decided to take a ship on this wavy area, in the part of the second Death Star. She finds the old throne of the Emperor, and she looks around and finds this little triangle thingy, and then she runs into herself, her dark self, and says, "Don't be afraid of who you are." And then her evil self hisses at her, and then she runs into Kylo Ren again. And then Kylo Ren crushes the thing, and then tries to convince her to join the dark side. And then they start using lights. They start having a lightsaber battle out on deck. Finn tries to shout at Rey, but Rey uses the Force to cause him to move back, and then she eventually stabs Kylo in the body, and then all of a sudden they sense something. Leia lies down, and then she ends up dying. She lies down in this bed, and she ends up dying, which is sad. And then Rey uses the Force to heal Kylo's wound, and then Rey takes off in Kylo Ren's TIE Fighter. then Kylo Ren just stands there, not knowing what to do, and then somebody says, "Hey, kid," and then he turns around, and then he sees his father, Han Solo, and then he goes, "You're just a memory. You're not here." And then he goes, "I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. My mother's gone." And then apparently, instead of like using the lightsaber to like put the lightsaber through Han Solo, he throws the lightsaber in the water, and then he looks back, and then his dad is gone. But Rey is back on the planet where Luke was. She tries to burn the TIE fighter, and then some porgs were there, and then she was about to throw Luke's lightsaber in there, and then all of a sudden someone grabs it. It was the Force ghost of Luke, and then he explains that she can still do this, and then they even show a scene of, he even gives her Leia's lightsaber, and they even show a scene where of young Luke and young Leia when they were training, and then Luke explains that she has everything she needs, and then he causes the lightsaber he causes the Force, and then outrises his old X-wing, and then Rey takes off into it to Exegus or whatever the place was. I can't remember what it was, but then Poe and Finn realize, back in the Resistance, they learn that Leia's gone, and then they learn that Rey is going to the place, and then they learn that she's telling them where to go, and then Lando said his flying days are over, and then he even explains that we didn't know we could do it either. Me, Han, and Luke, and Leia didn't know we could do it either. Then we figured out we could. And then the whole Resistance takes off to go to that place. And then when Rey arrives, there were some people. She goes into the Emperor's temple, and then all of a sudden she sees that a bunch of people are like the Emperor, like cheering or something. Then she runs into the Emperor, and then eventually Kylo goes there, and then he takes an Imperial TIE fighter, apparently. There was still one there at the Death Star, and then he goes into the temple, and then the Emperor tries to get Rey to join the dark side, strike him down so she can take his throne. And then the Resistance arrives and starts attacking the Star Destroyers, which there are multiple, and then some of them land on there to take out some oscillators or whatever they are. And then Palpatine shows what's going on, shows this to Rey, and then she tells them to join your new family to save your friends, just like in Return of the Jedi. But then Kylo Ren runs into the Knights of Ren. He gets beat by them, and then Rey puts the lightsaber behind her back and somehow manages to give it to Kylo Ren. Then he fights off the Knights of Ren. And then, and earlier I forgot to tell you guys, one of the generals, I can't remember his name, he shot after he learned that Hux was helping out the Resistance people. He shoots Hux dead. But anyway, there was even some red stormtroopers they fought, and then eventually Rey started fighting all the troopers around her, and then eventually Ren appeared, helping her out, and then I don't know why, but the Emperor causes this huge wind to cause them to fall over, and then his eyes appear, and then he gets out of this thing that was holding him, and he said he will rule, and then he causes Sith lightning to go in the air, even though earlier Lando and Chewbacca arrived with a bunch of other ships, and they arrived in the Falcon, and then all of a sudden and the Emperor uses his Sith lightning to cause everyone to go out of control in the air, and then everyone's systems were failing, and then Rey looks up, knowing what was happening. She couldn't believe her eyes, and then the Emperor causes Kylo Ren or Ben to fall into some distance, and then Rey hears Jedi voices in her head, like Luke's, Leia's. I think she heard the old Jedi's like from the prequel series, and she heard Yoda's, Obi-Wan's, and then she gets up and she said she's all of the Jedi, and then Kylo appears and then throws the lightsaber to Ren. I mean Rey gets up, she uses Luke's lightsaber, and then she hears Luke's voice saying the Force will be with you always. And then the Emperor uses his lightning, and then Rey uses her lightsaber to like block the Sith lightning, and then Kylo appears and then gives the other Leia's lightsaber to her, and then she says, "I am all of the Jedi," and then she fights back with all her power, and then she causes the lightning to hit the Emperor, and then the Emperor's face starts disintegrating, and he disintegrates, and then he explodes, and then the temple starts collapsing on all those people in the audience, and then Rey escapes on the X-Wing, and then the Resistance fighters escape, and then all the Star Destroyers get destroyed, everyone escapes, but Rey actually ends up almost dying, but Kylo uses the Force to heal her, and then some reason Finn can feel all of this, I don't know how, but then I think he has the Force in him too, and then because he believes in it now, and then Ben or Kylo Ren, Ben and Rey kiss, and then Ben faints, and then he disappears like a force, like his body disappears and his clothes are left behind, and then Rey gets on the X-Wing and then takes off with all the Resistance fighters, and then they make it all home, and then they all start hugging each other, and as one of the Star Destroyers are falling, the Endor Ewoks can see all this. They show the Ewoks, and then they show people on other planets, and they show the wrecked Star Destroyer on Jakku, and then they all arrive, all the Resistance fighters arrive, and then they start hugging each other, and then there was this two ladies kissing each other, which was weird. Then Rey and by the way, earlier in the fight, in the Millennium Falcon, when Lando and Chewie were in it, in the, where at the bottom where someone's firing the guns, it was Wedge Antilles. There was a cameo of Wedge Antilles. I think it was Dennis Lawson that did Wedge Antilles. Yeah, that's right. And then everyone was reuniting with each other, and then Rey and Finn and Poe hugged each other, group hug, and then Finn had tears in his eyes, and then later on, Rey and BB-8 go to not Jakku, Tatooine apparently, and then there was a huge Jawa vehicle, a tank, and then they were having a little campfire, the Jawas, and they were like, "Woo TD!" And then Rey visits the old Skywalker ranch, and puts the lightsabers in a little blanket thingy and buries them in the sand. And then there was this old lady saying, "There's nobody here anymore," and she has her horse camel thingy or whatever, and she goes, "Who are you?" And she goes, "I'm Rey." And she goes, "Rey who?" And then she looks back and she sees the Force ghosts of Leia and Luke, and then she says, "Rey Skywalker." And then the film ends with Rey and BB-8 looking at the two suns out in the distance of Tatooine. And yeah, I thought it was a good ending. I thought it was one of the best. I give it an 11 out of 10. And yep, I highly recommend it for any Star Wars fans. And sorry if my storytelling is a little out of order. I mean, not really much of a good storyteller, but puts a big smile on my face. And yeah, anyway, like and subscribe for more videos and reaction videos as always. And that's all I have for you guys. And thank you guys for watching. Turn post notifications on, and let's make this 2020 year a good year, better than last. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Later. Peace out.